August 20th, 1974. International Hotel, Las Vegas, Nevada. 2,000 people fill the showroom. Gold curtains, crystal chandeliers, the smell of cigarettes and perfume thick in the air. Elvis Presley stands center stage. White jumpsuit, eagle design, rhinestones catching the lights. He's halfway through Can't Help Falling in Love. His voice strong, clear, perfect. But his eyes are somewhere else, not on the audience, not on the band, somewhere dark. He stops mid-verse. The band keeps playing. 2 bars, 3 bars. Then they stop too. Complete silence. 2,000 people holding their breath. Elvis turns, looks toward the wings, stage left, where Colonel Tom Parker stands in the shadows. Elvis's jaw tightens. His hand grips the microphone. Not performance grip. Real grip. White knuckles. He takes 1 step toward the wings, then another. The audience doesn't understand what they're seeing, but everyone backstage does. Elvis is about to walk. Right there. Middle of the show. Middle of a song. Middle of a $150,000 contract. What happens in the next 17 minutes will reveal what almost destroyed the biggest show in Vegas. Here is the story. The International Hotel, now the Las Vegas Hilton, 3,000-seat showroom. Elvis has performed here since July 31st, 1969. 2 shows a night, sometimes 3 on weekends. Every single show sold out. For 5 years. But August 20th, 1974 is different. Something breaks. The crowd sees a pause, a stumble maybe, technical difficulty. They don't see the truth. They don't see what's been building for weeks. Elvis stands frozen center stage, his chest rising and falling, not from singing, from rage, from exhaustion, from 5 years of this, the same stage, the same city, the same prison. Joe Esposito watches from stage right. Tour manager, best friend. He's seen Elvis angry before, seen him throw microphones, seen him storm off, but never mid-show, never while 2,000 people watch. Red West stands backstage, security chief, member of the Memphis Mafia since 1954. He takes 2 steps toward the stage, stops, knows better than to approach Elvis right now. Charlie Hodge stands frozen at the piano, backup singer, guitar handler. He's been with Elvis since the Army. Germany, 1958. He's never seen Elvis like this. The band doesn't move. James Burton on guitar, left hand still on the fretboard. Ronnie Tutt on drums, sticks raised. Jerry Sheff on bass, eyes locked on Elvis. Glenn D. Harden on piano, hands hovering over keys. Nobody breathes. Nobody moves. Everyone waiting to see what Elvis does next. In the wings, Colonel Tom Parker's face goes red, then white. He knows what this means. Breach of contract, lawsuits, financial disaster. But more than that, loss of control. And the Colonel cannot lose control. Elvis takes another step toward the wings, toward Parker. His eyes locked on the Colonel. Not performance eyes, real eyes, dangerous eyes. Quick thought. Have you ever been so exhausted you couldn't remember why you started doing something you once loved? Drop a comment. The tension didn't start tonight. It started 6 weeks ago, July 2nd, 1974. Elvis signs a new contract with the International Hotel. 4 weeks, 2 shows per night, 5 nights a week. 56 performances total. The Colonel negotiates the deal. Elvis doesn't see the contract until it's done. Standard practice. The Colonel handles business. Elvis handles performance. That's how it's always been, except this time something's different. The money is less, the performance is more, the creative control gone. Elvis finds out from Joe Esposito, not from the Colonel, from Joe. 3 days before the engagement starts. Elvis reads the contract in his suite. Room 3000, International Hotel, top floor. The same room he stayed in for 5 years. Same furniture, same carpet, same walls closing in. He reads page 7, repertoire approval. All songs must be approved by hotel management and Colonel Tom Parker. Elvis reads it again, then again. His hands shake. Not from pills, from disbelief. He's Elvis Presley, the biggest name in entertainment. He's sold more records than anyone in history. He's changed music, changed culture, changed everything, and he needs permission to choose his songs. Joe Esposito stands by the window, looking out at the Vegas Strip, lights stretching to the horizon. "Boss, we can renegotiate." Elvis doesn't respond, just stares at the contract. Page 7, Section 12, Subsection C, his entire artistic vision reduced to a clause. Red West enters the suite, sees Elvis's face, knows immediately. The Colonel did it again. Elvis looks up, voice quiet, too quiet. "When does it stop, Red?" Red doesn't answer, because there is no answer. It doesn't stop. Not as long as Colonel Tom Parker controls Elvis Presley. Charlie Hodge sits on the couch, silent. He's known Elvis since Germany, Friedberg, Ray Barracks, 2 soldiers serving their country, before the fame became a cage, before Vegas became a prison. Elvis was different then, free, happy, young. That Elvis doesn't exist anymore. Charlie sees what's left. A 39-year-old man trapped in a contract he didn't negotiate, trapped in a life he didn't choose, trapped in a city he's starting to hate. The engagement begins July 5th, 1974, opening night. Elvis performs flawlessly. CC Rider, "I Got a Woman, Love Me." The audience loves it. Standing ovation, encore, everything perfect on the surface. But backstage, Elvis doesn't speak, doesn't smile, doesn't acknowledge anyone, just walks to his dressing room, closes the door, sits in silence. Joe Esposito knocks. "Boss, great show." Silence. "Boss," silence. Joe opens the door slowly. Elvis sits in front of the mirror, still in the jumpsuit, still wearing the belt, staring at his reflection, not moving, just staring. July 12th, 1974. 1 week into the engagement, Elvis changes the set list without approval, adds Suspicious Minds, adds Burning Love, removes Love Me Tender. The Colonel finds out from the band, not from Elvis. He storms into Elvis's dressing room before the second show. Red West tries to stop him. "Colonel, not now." The Colonel pushes past. "We have a contract, Elvis." Elvis doesn't turn around, just keeps adjusting his cape in the mirror. "I know what we have." The Colonel's voice rises. "Then you know you can't change the set list without approval." Elvis turns. Voice calm, deadly calm. "Watch me." July 19th, 1974. 2 weeks in. Elvis arrives late to the first show. 30 minutes late. 2,000 people waiting. The Colonel pacing backstage. Joe Esposito on the phone with Elvis's suite. "Boss, you need to get down here." Silence on the line. "Boss, I'm coming." But Elvis doesn't sound right. Voice too slow. Words slurred. Joe knows that sound. Pills. Too many pills. Elvis finally arrives. 45 minutes late now. Steps out of the elevator. Black sunglasses, high collar, moving like he's underwater. The Colonel sees him. Face purple with rage. "You're in breach of contract." Elvis doesn't respond, just walks past. Toward the stage, toward the lights, toward 2,000 people who paid $50 each to see him. The show is terrible. Elvis forgets lyrics, misses cues, slurs words. The audience doesn't care. They're seeing Elvis Presley. That's enough. But backstage, everyone knows. This can't continue. Something has to break. July 26th, 1974. 3 weeks in. Elvis confronts the Colonel directly. In the Colonel's office. International Hotel. 5th floor. Elvis doesn't knock. Just walks in. "I want out." The Colonel looks up from his desk. Papers spread everywhere. Contracts, receipts, schedules. "Out of what?" Elvis's voice rises. "Out of this. Out of Vegas. Out of this contract." The Colonel leans back in his chair. "You signed the contract, Elvis." Elvis slams his hand on the desk. "You signed it. I just showed up." The Colonel's eyes narrow. "That's how it's always worked." Elvis leans forward. Well, maybe it's time it worked differently. The colonel stands. He's shorter than Elvis. Always has been. But somehow he fills the room. You owe the hotel 28 more shows. You owe me 50% of your earnings. You owe everyone who bought a ticket exactly what they paid for. Elvis's jaw clenches. I don't owe you anything. The colonel smiles. Not a friendly smile. A dangerous smile. Read your contract, son. You owe me everything. Elvis turns and leaves, slams the door. The walls shake. August 1st, 1974. Elvis stops taking the colonel's calls, stops attending production meetings, stops approving anything, just performs, shows up, sings, leaves. No conversation, no collaboration, just obligation. The colonel tries to regain control, schedules extra press conferences. Elvis doesn't show, schedules photo sessions. Elvis cancels. Schedules meet and greets. Elvis sends Joe instead. The colonel realizes he's losing grip for the first time in 20 years, since 1954. Since that first handshake in Texarkana, he's losing control of Elvis Presley. August 15th, 1974. 5 days before everything breaks, Elvis receives a letter delivered to his suite. No return address, just a single sheet of paper, typed. He reads it again, hands it to Joe. Joe reads it silently. Face goes pale. Boss, this is... I know what it is. The letter is from a lawyer, not the colonel's lawyer, a different lawyer, specialized in entertainment law, contract disputes, personal management separation. The letter explains Elvis's options, legal options, ways to break the management contract with Colonel Tom Parker. It won't be easy. It won't be clean. But it's possible. Elvis has never considered this before. Not seriously. The colonel has always been there. Always. Since the beginning. Before Elvis was Elvis. When he was just a kid from Tupelo with a guitar and a dream. But now Elvis sees the truth. The colonel isn't protecting him. He's controlling him. Controlling his music. Controlling his schedule. Controlling his life. And Elvis realizes something. He's 39 years old. And he's never been free. Not once. Not ever. August 20th, 1974. The night everything breaks. Elvis arrives at the hotel at 9 p.m. First show starts at 9:30 p.m. He's on time, sober, focused. Joe notices immediately. Boss seems different tonight. Red agrees. Too calm, too focused. It's not the calm of peace. It's the calm before the storm. Elvis walks past the colonel without speaking. Doesn't even look at him. Just walks straight to his dressing room. Closes the door, sits alone for 20 minutes, looking at the wall, at the photos, at the posters, at the evidence of everything he's built, everything he's sacrificed, everything he's lost. At 9:28 p.m., Charlie Hodge knocks. Boss, 2 minutes. Elvis stands, straightens his jumpsuit. White, eagle design, American flag on the back, the cape weighs 30 pounds, rhinestones, gold braid, symbolism, freedom, America, everything Elvis represents, everything Elvis doesn't have. He walks to the stage. The band is ready, the lights are ready, the audience is ready, 2,000 people, all expecting the show of a lifetime. The curtain opens. Elvis steps into the light. The crowd erupts, screaming, applause, flashbulbs. Elvis raises his hand. The crowd quiets. He begins. C. Rider. Perfect performance, every note clean, every move precise. I got a woman, flawless. Love me, beautiful. Then, Fever. Halfway through Fever, Elvis sees the colonel in the wings, arms crossed, watching, always watching. Elvis's voice falters for a second. Just a second. The band covers. Nobody in the audience notices, but Elvis notices. He notices the colonel's eyes, notices the control, notices the cage. He finishes Fever, moves into Can't Help Falling in Love. The closer. The moment. Wise men say, only fools rush in. Elvis's eyes find the colonel again, still watching, still controlling, still owning every note that comes out of Elvis's mouth. but I can't help falling in love with you. Elvis stops singing. Mid-verse, the band keeps playing, expecting Elvis to come back in. He doesn't. He just stands there, staring at the Colonel. The band stops. Silence. Complete silence. Elvis turns toward the wings, toward the Colonel, takes one step. Then another. Joe Esposito's heart stops. Red West's hands ball into fists. Charlie Hodge freezes at the piano. The Colonel's face goes white. Elvis takes a third step, fourth step. He's walking off, right now, in front of 2,000 people, in front of the world. But then something happens. Elvis stops, right at the edge of the stage, right before the wings. He stands there. 30 seconds. Feels like 30 years. The audience doesn't know what to do. Some think it's part of the show. Some think something's wrong. All of them silent, waiting. Elvis turns back, slowly, faces the audience. His face different now, softer, sadder. He walks back to center stage, picks up the microphone, voice quiet, too quiet for the back rows, but the front rows hear. Y'all paid good money to be here tonight. Silence. And I'm not gonna let you down, he signals the band. They start Can't Help Falling in Love again. From the beginning, Elvis sings, every word, every note, perfect, but something's different. The emotion is real now, not performance emotion, real emotion. The tears in his eyes aren't stage tears, they're real, like a river flows, surely to the sea. Darling, so it goes. Some things are meant to be. When he hits the final note, the crowd explodes. Standing ovation, 5 minutes of applause. Elvis bows, leaves the stage, walks straight past the Colonel, past Joe, past Red, past everyone, straight to his suite, room 3000. Closes the door. Doesn't come out for 2 days. The remaining shows are canceled. The Colonel tells the press Elvis has the flu. Exhaustion, doctor's orders, the usual lies. But backstage, everyone knows the truth. Elvis almost walked, almost destroyed his career right there on that stage, almost burned everything to the ground, but he didn't. Why? Not because of the Colonel, not because of the contract, not because of the money, because of the audience, because 2,000 people paid to see him, paid to hear him, paid to be in his presence. And Elvis couldn't let them down, even if it meant destroying himself, even if it meant staying in the cage, even if it meant giving the Colonel exactly what he wanted. August 22nd, 1974. 2 days later. Elvis meets with the lawyer, the one who sent the letter. They talk for 4 hours about options, about freedom, about escape. But in the end, Elvis decides against legal action. Not because he can't win, he probably could, but because he's tired. Tired of fighting. Tired of everything. The lawyer leaves. Elvis sits alone in his suite, looking out at the Vegas Strip, the lights stretching forever, the city that made him rich, the city that made him famous, the city that made him a prisoner. Elvis completes the remaining shows. 28 performances. August 23rd through August 28th. Every show sold out. Every show perfect. The audience never knows how close they came to seeing Elvis Presley walk off stage and never come back. But the people backstage know. Joe Esposito knows. Red West knows. Charlie Hodge knows. The band knows. They all know they witnessed something that night. Not a performance. Not a show. But a man deciding whether to live or die. Whether to continue or quit. Whether to stay in the cage or break free. And Elvis chose to stay. Not for himself. For the audience. For the people who loved him. For the people who needed him. Even if it killed him. The Colonel never speaks about that night. Not to Elvis. Not to anyone. But everyone notices a change. The Colonel is quieter around Elvis. Less demanding. Less controlling. Not because he's learned a lesson, but because he knows. He knows how close he came to losing everything. To losing the golden goose. To losing Elvis Presley. And even the Colonel isn't stupid enough to push Elvis that far again. 1975 arrives. Elvis signs another Vegas contract. Smaller this time, fewer shows, more money, more creative control, not freedom. But closer to freedom than he's had in years. The performances are better. Elvis is better, more engaged, more present, more alive. But the damage is done. The toll is taken. Vegas has marked him, marked his body, marked his soul, marked his spirit. Elvis's Vegas performances become erratic, some nights brilliant, some nights barely coherent. The Colonel tries to maintain control, tries to maintain the schedule, tries to maintain the image, but Elvis is slipping away, not just from the Colonel, from everyone, from himself. December 1976. Elvis's last Vegas show, International Hotel, now officially the Las Vegas Hilton, 2,000 people. One last time, Elvis performs Can't Help Falling in Love. The same song, the same stage, the same closing number, but this time he finishes. No pause, no hesitation, no walk toward the wings. Just the song, just the performance, just Elvis. When he finishes, he looks toward the wings, where the Colonel always stood. But the Colonel isn't there tonight. Sick, or so he says. For the first time in 7 years, Elvis performs in Vegas without the Colonel watching. And Elvis smiles. A real smile. Not a performance smile, a free smile. August 16, 1977. Elvis Presley dies. Graceland, Memphis, Tennessee, age 42. The Colonel is notified. His first words? This changes everything. Not grief, not shock, not sadness, just business. Always business. In the days after Elvis's death, stories emerge. Stories from the people who were there. Stories from that night in August 1974. Joe Esposito tells a reporter, Elvis almost walked off that stage. I've never told anyone this before, but he was done. Completely done. The only thing that stopped him was the audience. He couldn't let them down, even if it meant letting himself down. Red West writes in his memoir, I saw Elvis die a little that night in Vegas, not physically, but spiritually. He made a choice to stay in the cage, and I think part of him regretted it until the day he died. Charlie Hodge, in an interview in 1983, Elvis loved performing, loved the audience, loved the music, but he hated the business, hated the control, hated what it did to him. That night in Vegas, I thought he was finally going to break free. When he turned back, when he finished the song, I knew. I knew we'd lost him, not to death, not yet, but to something worse, to resignation. The International Hotel, now the Westgate Las Vegas Resort and Casino, still stands. The showroom where Elvis performed has been renamed, the International Theater, 3,000 seats, the same stage, the same lights, the same space where Elvis almost walked away. There's a bronze statue in the lobby now. Elvis in his white jumpsuit, eagle on the chest, American flag on the cape, frozen in time, forever performing, forever controlled, forever in Vegas. Tourists take photos. They don't know the story, don't know what almost happened, don't know how close they came to never having this statue, never having these memories, never having Elvis's Vegas legacy. Because on August 20th, 1974, Elvis Presley almost destroyed it all. Almost walked off stage, almost broke the contract, almost broke free. But he didn't. He stayed. For the audience, for the people who loved him, for the people who needed him, even though it cost him everything. Quick thought. Have you ever sacrificed your own freedom to make someone else happy? Was it worth it? Drop a comment. Today, that moment in August 1974 represents something larger, something beyond Elvis, something beyond Vegas, something about the cost of fame, the cost of success, the cost of being who everyone needs you to be, even when you don't know who you are anymore. Elvis Presley could have walked away that night, could have said no, could have chosen himself, but he didn't, because that wasn't who Elvis was. Elvis gave, always gave his music, gave his time, gave his energy, gave his life, until there was nothing left to give. The audience that night in August 1974 thought they were watching a show. They thought they were seeing Elvis Presley perform. But they were witnessing something else. They were witnessing a man choosing his prison, choosing to stay locked in a cage of his own making, choosing obligation over freedom, choosing duty over desire. And that choice, that moment, that decision to turn back and finish the song, might be the most tragic moment in Elvis's entire life. Not his death, not his divorce, not his addiction, but that moment when he chose to stay trapped, that moment when he walked back to the microphone, that moment when he sacrificed himself for 2,000 people who loved him but didn't truly know him. That's the tragedy. That's what the audience didn't see. They saw Elvis finish the song. They saw Elvis perform perfectly. They saw Elvis give them exactly what they wanted. But they didn't see what it cost him. They didn't see the piece of his soul he left on that stage. They didn't see the freedom he surrendered. They didn't see the moment he decided to let the cage close forever. And 3 years later, Elvis Presley was dead. Not because of drugs, not because of poor health, not because of exhaustion, but because he gave everything away, every piece of himself, every bit of his freedom, every fragment of his soul, until there was nothing left, until Elvis Presley the man was completely consumed by Elvis Presley the performer, until the private Elvis and the public Elvis became the same person, until there was no escape, no sanctuary, no self. The statue at the Westgate Las Vegas resort stands as a monument to that sacrifice, to Elvis's choice, to the moment he turned back, to the song he finished, to the audience he served, to the man who gave everything. If you're watching this video, take a second to reflect on the cost of pleasing everyone, on the price of success, on the trap of obligation. Elvis taught us that you can have everything and nothing at the same time. You can be the most famous person in the world and the loneliest. You can perform for thousands and feel completely alone. You can give everything and lose yourself. That night in August 1974, in that showroom in Las Vegas, Elvis Presley made a choice to finish the song, a choice to fulfill the contract, a choice to give the audience what they wanted. And in doing so, he lost the one thing that mattered most: himself. The audience went home happy that night. They got their show, they got their Elvis, they got their money's worth. But Elvis went back to his suite, room 3000, top floor, the same room he'd stayed in for 5 years. And he was more alone than he'd ever been, because he'd just chosen the cage, chosen the prison, chosen to remain Elvis Presley the performer, instead of becoming Elvis Presley the free man. And that choice, that moment, that decision, haunted him until his final breath. So if you see that statue at the Westgate, if you visit Vegas, if you stand in that showroom, remember that Elvis almost walked away, almost said no, almost chose himself, but he didn't. He chose you. He chose the audience. He chose the performance. And it killed him. Not all at once, but slowly, piece by piece, day by day, show by show, until there was nothing left. Until August 16th, 1977. Until Graceland. Until the end. Elvis Presley was the greatest performer who ever lived. But that night in Vegas, August 20th, 1974, he was just a man, a tired man, a trapped man, a man who wanted to walk away, and almost did. The audience didn't see it. The world didn't know. But the people backstage saw. They saw Elvis hesitate. They saw him take those steps toward the wings. They saw him stop. They saw him turn back. They saw him make the choice. The wrong choice, the tragic choice, the choice that cost him everything. And unfortunately, they don't make men like Elvis Presley anymore.